Chosen one, before we even begin, I want you to breathe for a moment, because what you are about to hear is not an accident, and it is not a coincidence. This is a message from God delivered to you in perfect divine alignment. You did not click on this by mistake. You were guided here because your spirit is awakening, your divine calling is rising, and the breakthrough you have been praying for is already moving toward you. I am speaking to you as one who has walked this spiritual road much longer than you, as someone who has seen the pattern, felt the warfare, survived the darkness, and witnessed the light return again and again. And I am here to look at you soul to soul and tell you that the spiritual attack you just went through was not random. It was not chaos. It was a sign. It was a signal. It was confirmation that you are a chosen one, stepping into something extraordinary. You may not fully understand it yet, but your spirit does. Your heart does. That deep pull you feel, the one that brought you here today, is the result of your spiritual awakening, expanding beyond what the old version of you can hold. God's message has been trying to reach you, and today it finally did. This exact moment, this exact video, this exact message has arrived because heaven decided you cannot walk into the next season unaware, confused, or doubting who you are anymore. The time for questioning has passed. The time for clarity is now. If you feel aligned already, comment 777, because that alignment is not an emotion, it is divine confirmation. Chosen one, the attack you faced recently was the loudest whisper from the universe that your breakthrough is near. You were not attacked because you are weak. You were attacked because you are rising. You were targeted because something powerful is shifting inside you, something sacred, something ancient, something tied to your divine purpose. Darkness recognizes light long before the light recognizes itself, and that is why the pressure intensified right before this moment. It was not a coincidence that the spiritual attack came when it did. It was strategically placed to distract you, to drain you, to make you doubt your own spiritual identity. But even in your lowest moment, divine protection surrounded you. Even when your heart felt heavy, something kept you standing, kept you breathing, kept you pushing. That was not luck. That was God's hand. You may have thought the chaos meant you were falling apart, but truly, the chaos meant you were being rebuilt. The spiritual storm was not punishment, it was preparation. Every tear, every confusion, every sleepless night, every unexpected heartbreak or loss was part of your spiritual initiation. You were being carved into who you were always meant to become. And now you are here, awakening to a truth that has been following you your entire life. You were chosen, you were called, you were set apart. I speak to you as an elder in the spirit. Someone who has learned that before every major breakthrough, a chosen one experiences a shaking, not to break them, but to break what is no longer allowed to travel with them. God's message today is not just encouragement. It is an activation. It is awakening something inside you that has been waiting for this exact moment. You are stepping into a season where you will finally understand why the warfare was so heavy, why the attacks came out of nowhere, why you felt isolated, misunderstood, and spiritually stretched. You were not imagining it. You were not overreacting. You were not too sensitive. You were being spiritually awakened. The war was real, because your calling is real. The pressure was great, because your purpose is great. Your light is necessary, and the world around you has already sensed your shift. This is your reminder, your confirmation, your awakening. You are not the person you used to be. You are the chosen one God has been preparing quietly, intentionally, and powerfully. Circle back to this truth again and again. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the signs. You are not imagining the spiritual pull. You are not imagining the attack. You were called. You were chosen. You were marked for something bigger than the life you have lived so far. And now the path ahead is opening, and your breakthrough is already on its way. If this touched your soul, comment "Welcome," because deep inside, you know it, you were called. Understanding why the attack happened right before the breakthrough. Chosen one, I want you to listen closely, because what I'm about to explain will help you make sense of everything you just went through. You have been trying to understand why the pressure intensified right before something inside you began to shift. You wondered why the heaviness grew stronger when you were finally starting to heal, grow, or move forward. You questioned why the confusion, the emotional weight, the spiritual turbulence, and the unexpected chaos came at the exact moment when you thought your life was beginning to stabilize. But nothing that has happened to you was accidental. Nothing was random. Nothing was without purpose. The timing of the attack was the greatest confirmation that your breakthrough was already approaching. And deep down, even in your exhaustion, you sensed it too. Before a chosen one steps into their breakthrough, their entire spiritual field becomes highly active. You may not see it with your physical eyes, but your spirit knows. Something inside you begins generating more light, more power, more clarity. It is the natural result of a spiritual awakening unfolding within you. This awakening sends signals into the invisible realm that your elevation is near. When a chosen one begins to align with their divine calling, the spiritual frequency around them changes. Their presence becomes brighter, their intuition becomes sharper, their inner knowing becomes stronger. You might not have realized it, but your soul was rising, your destiny was shifting, and the universe was preparing to lift you into a new dimension of your life. This is why the attack came. The attack was not a sign of your weakness. The attack was a reaction to your rising power. When your light intensifies, opposing energies detect it long before you do. Darkness always senses a chosen one's breakthrough before the chosen one fully understands what is happening. You were being elevated, and that elevation stirred both divine recognition and opposition. The intensity you felt was the result of spiritual forces responding to your inner expansion. Your spirit was stepping forward, and the attack was the last attempt to push you backward. You see, spiritual warfare always increases before divine calling becomes visible. This is not mythology or superstition. This is spiritual law. Before every great shift in a chosen one's life, there is always resistance. Not because you are cursed, not because you are abandoned, but because you are stepping into a timeline that threatens the old patterns that once held you. The enemy detects divine timing long before you receive full clarity. It senses the moment your spirit aligns with your destiny. That is why you felt the sudden increase of pressure. The enemy tried to interfere, to confuse you, to exhaust you, to distract you from your breakthrough. But the very fact that you made it here, listening to this message from God, proves that the interference has already failed. You survived what was meant to stop you. Chosen one, what you endured recently was the spiritual equivalent of an alarm going off in the unseen world. Your breakthrough created a vibration, a frequency, a shift so powerful that both heaven and opposition felt it. Chosen ones carry a spiritual frequency that activates blessings, opportunities, and divine orchestration. But that same frequency also exposes them to resistance. Not because they are powerless, but because they are powerful beyond measure. The more awakened they become, the more noticeable their presence becomes in the spiritual realm. The more they align with their divine calling, the more the old energies try to cling to them. The more their light expands, the more shadows attempt to rise around them, but none of it has the power to stop a destiny that God has already ordained. Think back to the last few weeks or months. You felt inner battles you could not explain. You felt confusion that appeared suddenly, almost unnaturally. You experienced emotional heaviness that did not match your circumstances. You encountered unexpected challenges at the worst possible moments. You felt drained, overwhelmed, or spiritually disconnected for reasons you could not articulate. These were not coincidences. These were not random fluctuations in your mood or energy. These were manifestations of a spiritual attack strategically placed to destabilize you right before your blessing arrived. Some of you felt isolated, as if the people you counted on suddenly couldn't hear you or understand you. Some of you experienced losses, disappointments, betrayals, or abrupt endings that cracked your heart open in ways you didn't see coming. Others battled internal storms, fear, doubt, anxiety, right when you were finally starting to feel hopeful again. You questioned yourself, your path, your future, and even your worth. You wondered if you were regressing, but in truth you were awakening. You were entering a higher dimension of your spiritual identity, and the warfare was the evidence. But even in all of this, divine protection never left you. God's message has been following you, guiding you, covering you, even when you felt alone. The fact that you endured, the fact that you kept going, the fact that something inside you refused to break, is the clearest sign that heaven was holding you through every moment of spiritual turbulence. The chosen are never unprotected. They are divinely guarded, even when their hearts feel vulnerable. The attack may have shaken you, but it did not destroy you. And the only reason it didn't destroy you is because God did not allow it. Everything you experienced was confirmation, not punishment. You were not being torn apart. You were being prepared. You were being purified, strengthened, awakened. The attack was the final resistance before your elevation. The emotional turmoil was the final shedding of the old identity. The confusion was the final distortion before clarity. The heaviness was the final spiritual weight before your soul ascended. You were walking through the threshold between who you were and who you are becoming. Circle back to this truth. This is a message from God. You are not imagining what you felt. You were called. You were chosen. The war was real because your purpose is real. Your light is necessary, and that is why darkness tried to dim it. But it failed. And now your breakthrough is unfolding, unstoppable, undeniable, divinely timed. If this touched your soul, comment, "I love 11," because deep inside you know it, you were called. 2. How God used the attack to strengthen you for the breakthrough. Chosen one, now that you understand why the attack came, it is time for you to understand something even more powerful. God did not allow that pressure to break you. He allowed it to build you. The moment your life began to shake, the moment the ground beneath you felt unstable, the moment relationships shifted, emotions overflowed, and familiar comforts collapsed, something sacred was unfolding behind the scenes. You may not have understood it at the time, but that spiritual pressure was designing a new version of you, one capable of carrying the breakthrough that is arriving now. God uses pressure to reveal power, and you are being molded, strengthened, sharpened, and elevated through every moment of pain, confusion, and spiritual exhaustion. When a chosen one is being prepared for their next season, divine protection does not always look gentle. Sometimes it looks like exposure. Sometimes God removes people you would have continued trusting. Sometimes He reveals truths you didn't want to see. Sometimes He lets situations fall apart because they were built on illusions that could not support the weight of your divine calling. This is why certain relationships suddenly ended. This is why certain doors closed abruptly. This is why you saw people's true intentions with painful clarity. What felt like loss was actually heaven clearing the path. What felt like abandonment was God's message in disguise, redirecting you toward alignment. The attack purified you. It burned away what was no longer meant to stay attached to your spirit. It sharpened your spiritual senses, making you more aware, more intuitive, more discerning. Before this season, you second-guessed yourself. You doubted your inner voice. You overlooked your own intuition. But the spiritual warfare you endured taught you to listen, to truly hear the whispers of your soul and the guidance of the divine. Your spiritual senses became heightened because God needed you awake, alert and aware for the blessings and responsibilities that are coming next. This attack built spiritual muscles you didn't even know you were capable of developing. You grew resilience by surviving what could have crushed you. You developed intuition by sensing energy shifts you once ignored. You gained clarity by watching false connections fall apart. You learned discipline by holding yourself together in moments when you had no external support. You became emotionally intelligent by observing patterns and behaviors around you that no longer aligned with your spirit. You grew in ways that can only happen through pressure. This spiritual strengthening was part of the divine training for your calling. What you once perceived as suffering was actually preparation. Every tear was washing away an old version of you. Every moment of loneliness was teaching you to rely on divine presence rather than human approval. Every emotional breakdown was breaking open the parts of your soul that had been locked away. The chosen one does not rise in comfort. They rise in fire. They rise through trials, not ease. They rise not because life is gentle with them, but because their spirit is designed to withstand storms and still shine. The attack dismantled old versions of you that could not survive the next chapter of your life. You outgrew who you were. You shed identities built from wounds, fears, and survival. Your spirit demanded evolution. You were being shifted from the old identity, one shaped by pain, scarcity, and self-doubt, into the awakened identity of a chosen one who understands their worth, their power, and their divine purpose. The spiritual attack was the breaking point that pushed you past who you were and into who you were always meant to be. Look back at your internal experiences. The isolation that felt unbearable, the moments when you felt misunderstood even by people close to you, the emotional breakdowns you held in silence, the losses that felt too heavy to carry, the endings that came without warning. These were not signs of failure. These were the catalysts of your spiritual awakening. Every emotional rupture activated a new depth in your soul. Every moment of emptiness expanded your capacity to receive more. Every separation made room for alignment. Every heartbreak softened your heart and strengthened your spirit at the same time. This was divine restructuring, not destruction. You may have wondered why everything seemed to collapse at once. You may have questioned why the spiritual storm hit you so intensely. But the answer is simple. You were being upgraded. You were being positioned for a breakthrough that your old self was not equipped to handle. You were being trained for a level of purpose, clarity, and divine responsibility that requires strength. God's message throughout this entire season has been consistent. You were chosen for more, and to receive more, you had to become more. And now, here you stand, stronger, wiser, clearer, more spiritually aware. You may not feel powerful every day, but look at how far you've come. Look at the resilience you carry. Look at the intuition that guides you. Look at the peace that follows you even in chaos. Look at the awareness you now possess. The spiritual attack did not weaken you, it transformed you. It shattered the parts of you that were built out of fear and awakened the parts of you built from divine truth. Chosen one, God used that pressure to prepare you, and now your breakthrough is beginning. You are stepping into the season you were strengthened for. The signs are already showing themselves. Your energy is shifting. Your spirit is clearer. Your awareness is sharper. Your heart is lighter. The divine alignment you have been waiting for is beginning to reveal itself. The next part of this message will help you recognize the signs that your breakthrough is already unfolding. Circle back to the truth at the foundation of everything you are experiencing. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the transformation. You were called. The war was real. But your purpose is even more real. Your light is necessary, and your awakening is unstoppable. You were not broken. You were being rebuilt. If this touched your soul, comment "Elevo," because deep inside you know it. You were called. 3 signs that your breakthrough has already been released. Chosen one, now that you understand why the attack came and how God used it to strengthen you, it is time for you to recognize something even more profound. Your breakthrough has already been released. It is not coming someday in the distant future. It is not waiting behind some invisible wall. It has already been set in motion in the spiritual realm, and you are beginning to feel the early signs of it. The shift has already happened. The energy around your life has already changed. You are standing in the transition between who you were and who you are about to become. And even if the physical evidence is not fully visible yet, your spirit has already sensed it. One of the clearest signs that divine protection is active and your breakthrough has begun is the sudden appearance of inner peace. This peace arrives quietly, almost unexpectedly, after a period of intense spiritual warfare. You may have noticed the turbulence inside you slowly calming. You may have found moments of clarity where confusion once lived. You may feel a sense of grounding, as if something inside you finally settled after months of spiritual shaking. That peace is not random. It is a signal that the attack has passed and your spirit is entering a restored state. This peace is God's message telling you that the worst is behind you and the breakthrough has already been released. Along with peace, many chosen ones begin to notice a rise of inner strength they cannot fully explain. After everything you endured, you should feel drained. But instead, you feel stronger, you feel more aware, you feel more centered. You feel like you've stepped into a deeper version of yourself. This is because the spiritual attack stripped away what was weighing you down and revealed the strength you were meant to carry. You may notice that situations that once overwhelmed you no longer affect you the same way. Emotional triggers have lost their power. Old fears seem distant. This internal shift is a sign that your spirit has leveled up. Another sign that your breakthrough has already been released is the subtle energetic shift that occurs after the spiritual battle ends. Your mind feels clearer. Your thoughts feel more ordered. Your emotions feel more balanced. You begin to recognize patterns with clarity. You see people differently, not with judgment, but with understanding. You feel connected to your higher self in ways you didn't before. This energetic shift is the spiritual realignment that takes place when the divine timeline opens. Your spirit is adjusting to a new phase, a new frequency, and a new dimension of awareness. You may have also noticed that certain relationships around you have shifted. Some connections may have faded naturally without conflict. Others may have ended suddenly. New people may be appearing in your life, people who align with your growth, people who bring peace rather than confusion, people who carry the kind of energy that matches your awakening. These relational changes are not coincidences. When a chosen one begins stepping into their divine calling, God removes what cannot go forward and places what is meant to support your next level. Every relationship shift is a sign of your breakthrough unfolding. Unexpected opportunities may begin to surface as well. Small openings, random chances, new ideas, inspirations, insights. You may feel pulled towards something new, a new environment, a new dream, a new habit, a new path. These urges are not accidents. They are signs of divine orchestration. The breakthrough is guiding you, nudging you, whispering directions into your spirit. The chosen one always feels the breakthrough internally before it appears physically. Your intuition becomes sharper. Your discernment becomes stronger. You feel guided, even if you can't explain why. This guidance is God's message preparing you to walk into your new timeline with confidence and clarity. Another sign of your breakthrough already being released is the feeling of mental lightness that replaces the heaviness you once carried. The spiritual pressure may have lifted, the emotional fog may be clearing, you may be waking up with a different energy, a sense of possibility rather than fear. You may be noticing a return of creativity, motivation, or passion. These shifts happen when your spirit moves out of warfare mode and into receiving mode. The moment the attack loses its grip, the breakthrough begins to flow in. Your soul knows this long before your mind catches up. Many chosen ones also experience a renewed sense of spiritual grounding during this time. You feel more connected to your intuition, your purpose, and the divine guidance surrounding you. You trust the process more. You question yourself less. You begin to understand your worth in a deeper way. You feel certain that you are being led, supported, and protected. This spiritual grounding is a sign that your breakthrough is aligning itself with your energy, preparing to manifest in tangible form. You may even notice physical signs, stronger intuition, increased synchronicities, repeated numbers, meaningful dreams, sudden clarity about your future, or unexpected moments of spiritual insight. You may feel pulled away from old environments, old habits, or old cycles, not because something is wrong, but because your spirit knows it no longer belongs there. This is part of your spiritual awakening, the internal shift that precedes the manifestation of the breakthrough. Chosen one, you must understand this. Your breakthrough does not arrive out of nowhere. It announces itself quietly through your spirit. You feel it before you see it. You sense the shift long before the world recognizes it, and right now, everything within you is signaling that the breakthrough has already been released. Divine protection is surrounding you, divine calling is pulling you forward, and the spiritual attack that once felt overwhelming has now become proof that your destiny is unfolding. This is the moment where the spiritual and physical timelines begin to merge. This is the moment where your inner transformation starts shaping your outer reality. This is the moment where God's message begins to reveal itself in ways you can no longer ignore. You were never abandoned. You were being prepared. You were never forgotten. You were being repositioned. And now, your breakthrough is already on its way to becoming visible. Circle back to the truth that is echoing throughout every part of your soul. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the signs. You were called. The war was real, but your purpose is greater. Your light is necessary, and your breakthrough cannot be stopped. If this touched your soul, comment 11, because deep inside you know it. You were called. Conclusion: your breakthrough is inevitable, and the attack was the final test. Your journey has carried you through storms that were never meant to break you, but to reveal you. This entire message began with a truth many ignore, but your spirit instantly recognized the attack did not happen randomly. It struck at the exact moment your breakthrough began to activate. The pressure, the confusion, the sudden heaviness that fell upon your life was the final attempt to distract you from the elevation already unfolding. And now, as you stand here listening to these words, something in you knows with absolute certainty that this was not coincidence. This was spiritual timing. This was alignment. This was the moment God began to shift your timeline. Chosen one, every attack you endured carried a meaning. The darkness did not rise because you were weak, but because your spiritual field became active, awakened, powerful. You felt the weight of the warfare not because you were unprotected, but because you were stepping into a divine calling that required a new level of strength and awareness. The battles forced you to sharpen your discernment, to stand firmer in your identity, to recognize which energies aligned with your purpose and which ones were trying to dim your light. Even the loneliness you experienced was part of this divine separation. You were pulled away from certain people and certain environments because your breakthrough could not survive in the old spaces you once tolerated. God removed what your heart was too loyal to release, because elevation requires purification. And now you see the truth. The attack was not a sign of abandonment. It was a sign of protection. It was spiritual law responding to your awakening. When the chosen one rises, everything in the unseen reacts. But God's message has echoed through this entire journey. You were never alone. You were never unguarded. You were never walking without purpose. Divine protection surrounded you even when you felt emotionally overwhelmed. Every tear that fell served as spiritual cleansing. Every ending that occurred was preparation. Every moment of uncertainty was a doorway being carved open. Your soul was being strengthened for the life you are about to step into. So hear this clearly, chosen one. Your breakthrough is not coming. It has already begun. The shift has already started. The doors have already opened. You may not see the full picture yet, but your spirit feels it. The internal peace, the rising clarity, the quiet confidence growing inside you are all signs that the warfare has passed and the elevation has started. What once confused you now feels purposeful. What once hurt you now feels like preparation. What once drained you now feels irrelevant, because you have outgrown the season that once held you captive. You are stepping into a timeline where fear cannot follow you. Doubt cannot sit beside you. Old patterns cannot reclaim you. The person you are now carries spiritual authority, grounded intuition, and awakened awareness, qualities shaped by everything you survived. Your life will not return to what it was before. That version of you served its purpose, but it cannot walk into the new destiny God has prepared. You are being positioned, elevated, and aligned in ways that will accelerate the blessings ahead. This is your divine moment. This is your confirmation. This is your spiritual victory. Chosen one, lift your head. Walk with the boldness that comes from knowing you are chosen, protected, guided, and destined for greatness. The attack was the final test. The breakthrough is the reward. And the message you receive today is not a coincidence. It is a message from God. If this touched your soul, comment 11 men. Because you know it, you were called.